Hello, it's April 28th, 2022, and this is the Backdrop uh, Weekly Developer Call. We get together every week to talk about priorities and tasks for Backdrop, focused on core mostly, especially this week. This week is the last couple of days before feature freeze for the 122 version. Feature freeze is going to be May 1st. That's a Sunday. And so there's no postponement or anything this time around because there's no holiday. Although I think actually some countries actually have May Day. I'm not sure if that pushes to Tuesday, but anyway, I don't think it affects us for this particular release. So we'll be following policy and having the cutoff for all new features for the 122 version be May 1st. As always, that it's not a full code freeze. That's feature freeze. There's actually space for not only bug fixes, but also user experience improvements can be made all the way up until the final release that will happen on the 15th. Sorry, before we get going too far here, let's do some introductions. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet. I'm a core committer for Backdrop, and I'm calling from Oakland, California. We'll go to Robert and then Joseph.
I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet, coming to you from Altadena, California.
Thanks, Robert. Joseph and then Martin.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Thanks, Joseph. Martin and then Greg.
I'm Martin in United Kingdom.
All right, thanks, Martin. Greg and then Tim.
Greg, I'm joining from Melbourne, and I've been away for a few weeks now, just trying to catch up and help whatever I can, although time is very limited. Happy to see you all.
Yeah, well, great to see you, Greg. Tim, and then finally Jen, if you're available.
I'm Tim. I'm St. Paul Tim, and I am in Deerwood, Minnesota, and yeah, really excited about the next release.
Jen, if you're available.
Yes, sorry about the background noise. Jen Lampton, currently joining from Woodside, California. Also looking forward to getting to the show.
All right, thank you and welcome everyone. A quick check-in on contributed projects. We always like to make a note of projects that have been coming in. There are two new modules that have been ported in the last week. Entity reference prepopulate and node limit module. Thank you to our contributors that have made those two modules. Let's see, it's RG Piano and Rositis. Awesome. Yay, two new modules. All right. So as I said in the intro, the kind of real big deal for the next couple of days is feature freeze for 122. I think actually almost all of the issues that were brought up in the forum this week, Tim pulled out 3 of them, are all related to kind of the low-hanging fruit, the items that we could potentially cram into 122 that we hadn't really planned on, but there is potentially space for. But before we get into those, I'll take a minute to go over what we have gotten completed in the past week, which has been substantial. So first of all, 4903, the addition of the card content type into the standard profile, as well as the redesign or update to the homepage of the out-of-box backdrop, has been merged. Very exciting. Congratulations, Tim, our advocate for that issue, as well as Olaf, who did a tremendous amount of support and testing for that issue. So great work to the two of you, and also the other 25 people that I think were involved in that issue. It had the longest attribution of any commit I can remember. Also, probably one of the longest issues that we've ever had as well. So I'm really glad that we came to compromise on a couple of items there. There are some follow-up issues, but the important thing is that that issue is now done. Well, the homepage is now updated, the card content type is in, and then we can iterate on improving it from here on out. Any words you'd like to say about the card content type, Tim?
No, just thanks to everybody for a long and productive process.
Yeah, great. Let's see. Another issue that I think was brought up just 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, I wasn't at the meeting last week, but issue 1936, the ability to disable and enable blocks in the layout UI instead of removing them has been merged as well. So BW Panda kind of pulled that one out of the hat that he was like, this doesn't look that difficult, and made it happen. Well, I say BW Panda, but this might not be fair. Doc
No.
Wilmot.
Yeah, that was Doc Wilmot.
Sorry, Doc Wilmot. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Andy, thank you so much for that that work there. I also love that in testing, people were saying things like, "Oh, this isn't behaving consistently," and Doc Wilmot deftly made it so that it did behave more consistent, but he was just basing it off of some other stuff that had been inconsistent. So he was being consistent with inconsistencies. But anyway, I love that. Yeah, he took it all in stride and fixed it real quick. Really, our expert in layouts. Let's see. More 122 issues. So we added an option to configure in Views UI whether or not you want a block or a page added by default. It's a real minor thing, but for some people, they only use pages. Some people only use blocks. And some people actually might not use either. So issue 2978 just lets you choose as an administrator which one would be the default when you add a new view. Let's see, a very old issue, issue 336. The administer comments and comment settings should be split into 2 different permissions. That's a very old issue, and I'm really glad to see that came to completion as well. That makes it so that the configuring of the comment module is different than the ability to delete comments because you have site builders that are configuring their site, and then you have site moderators and editors that are actually doing the content management portion of things. So those 2 things are now split apart. And this issue was actually merged prior to last week, but I wasn't around to announce it. Issue 3992, dropping support for PHP older than 5.6, has also been merged, and that bumps up our minimum PHP version to version 5.6, which has been a planned bump now for 5 or 6 months, and it's good to finally get that in. The current version of Backdrop also, if you're running an older version of PHP, throws a big red status error report message saying that PHP support is going to be dropped for those invalid versions now. Wow, okay, so that's all in the last week. It's very exciting. All of these things have been coming together. I've also just generally been going through just the maintenance queue of things that are going to 121. I think that we've had over a dozen issues merged there as well. Some really great bug fixes and performance enhancements as well that have been going in. It's been a very active couple of weeks in the world of Backdrop. But 122, we've got only 3 days before feature freeze. What should we be spending our time on for those for these last items? Well, if we take a look at the 122 milestone, there are currently 4 open issues in here, and 3 of them look like they're in really pretty good shape. But I'll bring up the one that is a little bit the most iffy, and I'm excited that Greg is here because it's an issue that he is the advocate for. And this is not pressure. I've just been taking a look at it recently, and I was like, I wonder if we can make this happen. So
yeah, I'm very pressured with time in life, but I'm not saying that it might not happen over the weekend. I might just, because I miss the coding bit of things and making pull requests, so I might just jump in. No promises though.
Yeah, well, I don't think that we need that kind of time commitment from you. I think that we need your opinion. I think is about all that is really necessary. So I jumped in, and there's some new pull requests now. A new pull request that makes some changes. It also gets all of the tests passing.
Right.
But it changes the terminology for the form API properties. And that's kind of an iffy thing because I know this is also based off of a Drupal patch. I'm not sure if it's important that we really keep
What,
consistency with Drupal at this point, but
what
yeah,
was the
definitely
issue
some
number
changes.
again?
What's that?
What was the issue number again? Sorry.
5348. Sorry, I don't think I even said it.
No worries. I'll see if I can have a look. Yes. But I've been
And-
away. So
And if you're not clear, Nate did an updated pull request. So that's what.
right, cool. Thank you.
So I didn't even say what this issue was, actually. This issue introduces a new form API property. It had been called required error, but I changed it to required message. And the reason for, well, what it does is if you have pound required equals true, then you can set pound required message equal to something like please enter your name, instead of letting Backdrop's default required field handler saying name field is required. So it makes it so that you can set a custom, more human-friendly message instead of letting the default required message be the thing that pops up.
But it still falls back to the default if not specified, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
but it still falls back to the previous behavior. And I think there's only one or two places in core that actually use the new required message. I think that the only place that is left that I can remember is the search form, that when you use the search block form, it says instead of, search terms field is required, it says please enter some keywords.
Yeah,
Something like
that's what I vaguely recall, where it was a bit of a quirk there. Something was not working as expected, so I'll need to test that again. But yeah, it was really close. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, and there's an explanation of what was causing it not to work in the pull request now.
Cool.
Doc Wilmot helpfully jumped in as well and noted that there's an issue that needs to be addressed regarding the order in which validations fire. And so we'll take a look. I'll take a look into that and see if we can get that one issue addressed.
Yeah, if memory serves me well, one of the big benefits, the obvious benefit, is that you can specify customized messages that are more human friendly, as you said. But what I recall, and I could be wrong, but I'm most likely not, it simplifies a lot of things, and we will be able to get rid of a lot of custom validations that we had, or that was the prelude to that. So yeah, I'm really excited that this is moving along despite me being away. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, no problem. All right, and then the other issues that we have in the 122 milestone. Let's see, there's one issue that's not very ambitious. It's a really simple documentation or linking, cross-linking issue. It's issue 5003, which is simply on the modules page, add a link to the project page on backdropcms.org and the GitHub page for each contributed module. And we have one of our newer contributors, one of the contributors hanging on from OpenForce, I believe, that has been taking on this issue. And it's pretty exciting to see Rakesh continue to put forth the effort to carry this to completion, even though we're kind of arguing all around him, saying whether or not something is possible. And he's like, I'm not sure I can do this. And fortunately, we're like, no, it's don't mind us. You're doing great. And then he came back and updated his pull request. So this issue is marked needs work, but really it just needs code review again and testing.
So a point of process, this got added to the milestone because it was RTPC at one point, and then we realized it wasn't RTPC. So maybe it should have been removed from the milestone. I don't know. On the other hand, if it's close.
Yeah. This also this is also good for a lot of reasons that there's no real reason why this needs to be in the minor release, I don't think. It is a user experience improvement as well. So it really could, we could take it out but put it in the bug release one, or we could just I think we should just try to get this to completion anyway, because it's already, I think that it's going to get in the near future anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, there's also no real hurry for it. Okay, let's see here. 122. So we talked about the new error validation and that add a link for each module. Those two are the only ones that remain in the 122 milestone that have been there for any amount of time. The remaining ones are new issues that Tim dug up, looking for these low-hanging fruit, things that we could potentially get completed in 122. Let's see. Let's go down the list here, starting with the one that is possibly questionable, or I'm not sure, it's not in the milestone yet. 4645, adding more commonly used date formats as default options to core. I vaguely remember this one, Tim. Are you able to give us a summary?
Sure. Yeah. So this is, the original idea was to add something with a more European format. We had a little bit of a debate too about whether to just make European versions of the current American ones or US-based ones, which all have a date and a time. I advocated strongly for the need for a time format that didn't have, or a date format that didn't have a time, that was just a date. And we went through, but the problem was we were starting to get 4 different US formats and 4 different European formats. And then I think BW Panda was the one who came up with the idea that we could have 2 different sets, and then based on where your location is when you're doing the install, we could use either the European set or the US set. And that's what the PR currently does. So it adds, basically what it does is for the impact on any individual users, they're going to get the same 3 date formats plus 1 that just has a time. But the big change is that if you're anywhere but in the US, the formats will look slightly different. They will start with the day, month, and then year, as opposed to month, day, and year. And that's where that's at. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a pretty big change that I don't know. There's a small number of people who've been chatting about this, so I don't know if enough eyes have been on it to spot any potential problems. But it's, unless somebody comes up with some potential problems, I think it works as expected right now. The question is, do we want to do it, and is the code sound?
Yeah, looks great in concept. So effectively, one thing I really like about this pull request is it's kind of de-Americanizing the default behavior of Backdrop, which is excellent. But if you install Backdrop and you select a time zone that is in the United States, it continues to act exactly the same as it does currently.
Well, it does add one. It adds one more format.
Oh yeah, but it adds a date-only format with no time. Yeah. So this to me looks really excellent. If it became controversial, Tim, we also could, add the date-only format, separate that out into a different pull request, and do this use more globally recognized date formats by default as a default, or as a separate thing.
Sure.
But yeah, we'll see if it causes any controversy, I think.
I'll mention that there was a lot of discussion about all the different date formats within Europe, so outside the US. So the US has some fairly standard date formats, whereas around the world everybody is using different things, and there were different ideas about how to accommodate people in different parts of Europe or different parts of the world. And in the end, for this PR, we decided to just pick one sort of non-US format. that starts with the date, and not try to, try to account for all the different possibilities, because there's just too many.
Yeah, I think at least it's globally recognized that doing month, day, year doesn't make any sense to anybody but Americans.
Right.
So yeah, it switches the default format for everything to day, month, year, so that it's like smallest to largest increment. And even though that's not perfect, it doesn't match the standards of every country. At least it's not the ludicrous format that the United States uses. Yeah. All right. Excellent. All right. Let's see here. Another issue that you filed, Tim, that is in the 122 milestone is 5599. A padding issue and basis, it looks like. I'm not sure that this is unique to 122. Is that why this is in the milestone?
The reason I put it in the milestone was, one, we had a patch to fix it, and it is potentially a regression in the sense that it added a background color to a region, whether or not our new view was in that region. So it could have potentially impacted existing sites. Now we have a PR now that fixes that problem. So, but I wanted to somehow flag this, because if for some reason this new PR gets waylaid and we release the current update the way it is, we could be adding a background to some people's websites that they're not expecting, which was never the intention. That, I think, was an oversight. So that's the reason I wanted to flag this at the meeting. But Indigozella has written a PR which focuses the background color on the on the view and the specific view block, and not the region. And that will solve this problem, because then the background color is only implemented. This is confusing because the title of the issue was slightly different. The problem I'm describing is related to why the ticket was opened. And in fact, the original issue is still, there is a scenario where the background color, you remove the block and the background color stays there, I guess, until you refresh the screen, which is a little bit weird, but we don't know if that's something we need to worry about or not. So anyways, that's why the only reason I added this, and I couldn't add it to the bug fix milestone, because it's fixing a bug that didn't exist until 1.22.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Looking over it, it looks good. Indigozella's fix kind of targets the cards more specifically to make it so that it's less likely to affect existing sites that are updating. So this looks like a win-win. It fixes a minor regression. It makes it so that existing sites are less likely to be affected, and if you remove the cards, then they look good. Yeah.
Exactly. And actually, there's another issue which this also fixes, which was also minor, in that the original pull request added a class to the block, and that class was required it was a container class, and if you deleted the block and then returned the block, the class wouldn't be there, and the block would spread out the full width of the page, which looked really weird. And technically it was behaving the way it should, but it would have broke users' expectations. But Indigozella's PR here, I believe, fixes that by moving if I understand correctly, it moves the class into the view in a way that now that the class won't go away, and you can delete the block, put it back, and it behaves as expected.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and this is as a probable bug. Actually, this does not need to be done before feature freeze. We can get it done beforehand. It would still be nice though, because we will make the preview release on May 1st that will, solicit people testing out this version. So some people may end up using, the preview version as the basis for their sites, and this affects the defaults out of the box. Okay. All right, next up, let's see, issue 5331, book module UI improvements. Tim, you brought this one up as well. Could you fill us in?
I don't want to dominate the meeting. If anybody else has anything, this is not at all urgent, but I felt like I put it on the agenda because it's a fairly low-hanging fruit in terms of there's a working PR. However, only like 2 or 3 people have looked at it. And I could give a quick demonstration if that's helpful so that people can see what it's doing. And then we can decide if it's, something we want to pursue. And is that okay? I mean, or is there anything else? I would, because I'm no longer the advocate for the card content type, I was able to advocate for a new one, and I picked this one.
Nice. Yeah, I think we've got time if you want to go ahead and share.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I'll try and do this pretty quickly. So I'm going to open up an existing website. I have the PR website and an existing website where I'm using book modules. So this is my own website, and I'm using or a website I've been working on that does, it's sort of a tutorial for learning backdrop. And I'm using the book module. And I actually stumbled into this PR because I found this problem and I wrote my own PR. I opened a new issue, wrote a PR to fix it, and then found that Herb had already done all the things I did better in this other PR. What the situation I was in is I wanted to reorganize. This PR does more than this, but this is a big one for me. I wanted to reorganize the order of my pages in the book. And there's this tab here called Outline. And I kept clicking on this, and it doesn't give me the ability to reorganize the outline at all. And then I would go back and edit the view. And there's a tab down here called Book Outline, which is exactly the same as this tab up here. Neither of which did what I thought it would do, which I found to be very frustrating. I eventually realized that you have to go up to the books under content. And this is where you can actually see the whole outline and move it around. So there's several other problems with the UI, but this was the big one for me. We can look quickly at what, and I'm showing all of this because Herb does have a question about his PR that we'd like feedback on. So this is the PR Sandbox with some sample book content. Again, I just created some really quick sample pages. And in his PR, he does 2 things, one of which is he removes the outline, and this is the thing he's questioning, is he removes it from here, but leaves it in the vertical tab. So now it's just in the vertical tab. And in the vertical tab, he's added these 2 links down here, one of which is remove from book outline, so you can just delete this page from the book outline. And the other one is you can click on that to go and reorder it. To me, this is a huge improvement. He's questioning whether or not people are going to be concerned about removing the tab up here. Does we could do the opposite, I suppose, which is leave the tab up here and get rid of the horizontal tab, or we could keep both. But I find having 2 of them weird. And this current solution works for me. So I don't know if enough people use the book module to have opinions about this, but it would be helpful to get that. I'm trying to think if there's any other small. This PR does a couple of things. I'd have to look to see if it might do 1 or 2 other small things as well. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if it's a finalized, but the pluses in front of the links, I imagine it's just a side effect of they would need to go away because saying the word remove and having a plus is
okay.
Yeah, it can be there. Yeah, but these are minor things. I agree that having 2 of these doing the same thing is misleading as a vertical tab and a primary tab. But when it comes to reordering book pages, maybe that could live there as a tab. I'm not sure. I'll have to have a look and see it. But if you click to the reorder book pages thing, this is a whole bigger page, a page of its own.
Right.
So I would like to have it so that it's more interrelated. Like you can switch between the book outline and the piece of content that we just edited without having to click the back button. Like keep it within context.
Sure.
Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah. I think so.
But yeah, I agree that it was a big oddity, UX oddity, or oddness, I should say.
Mhm.
Having those two
Right.
things, yeah, and also that you didn't have an obvious way to get to the outline, right? Which is
Right.
the biggest issue.
Right. Yeah, well, you have two tabs that both say book outline, neither of which take you to the book outline.
Yeah, and one of them just says outline, not book
Right,
outline, and
yeah.
it's like very vague. So
Right.
Does,
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
is this new that you added the parent option, or is that just not shown for some reason? Like in this site, when you hit outline, there's no parent select list, but in the sandbox, there isn't an option for parent.
I'm sorry. Again, Herb did a couple of things in this PR, so I could be forgetting something else that he did. Just describe this again. Where did you see parent?
Yeah, so click
Yeah.
on book outline here.
Yeah.
There's no parent. There's only choose the book.
Okay.
Um,
And this one there was. Huh? Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
To
if
be honest,
this
I'm
is
confused about that. Yep.
if this is missing from the current functionality, it is makes it almost worthless because you really need to be able to assign the parent for a page. I don't know
Yes.
why that option isn't shown in the previous one. I
Okay.
think that this might be like this is the top level page in this book. I think that's probably the issue. This is the root, and you can't put the root under something else.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you were just looking at any other page, this would be different.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
there
it
you
is.
go. Yeah. Oh well, that's kind of amazing that works. Fancy pants loading.
That still needed to be clarified a little bit better. I missed that bit of text, and Nate, you picked it up just because we are long time Drupal backdrop users. I would have missed it if I was a new user. So we need to make that, but that's a follow-up issue or something different.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, what was the issue number? Oh, here. Actually, so these were all the things that he was trying to address with his PR, and I might not have talked about all of them. Change. Okay, so we talked about this changing the. So
Right.
wrong tab. So here, this was just books, and now in the PR, it's manage books.
Right. I agree
Okay,
with that.
so that's one. Fix the breadcrumb. I don't know if you want to look at that right now, but apparently he does something to make the breadcrumb work better. Remove the outline tab. So that's what we talked about. Remove the horizontal tab at the top. Add a remove from book link, and that we did that. Add a reorder book link. We talked about that. Make content type for child pages into a select list. Yeah, I don't. That might. I wonder if that's on the content type. Like when because you can, in any content type, you can, oh, well, forget it. I'm not going to try and do this on the fly. But does anybody understand what he's getting at here? Make content type for child pages into select list.
Yeah, so you need to go to admin content book settings.
There we go.
There.
Yeah. So that's what it was. And now
Right.
it's a select list.
Yep.
Before, after, much nicer.
Yep. Especially with the big
Radio
list of
box
content
thing.
types.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what this PR does. It seems to be part of an even bigger meta issue, which I haven't really reviewed all of this. So, but there were already some changes that happened. Like I think in the last release, we made some really nice updates to the book module. So with this one, we're making the book module a lot more user friendly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I like that this on that meta for improving book, like it had a note there that add an order tab to the book's main page, which is interesting that's only on the main book page, but it is still good that it's like we're thinking about I think removing the order that we have right now or the outline that we have right now because it's like I think everybody's going to go under edit anyway. Like that's where they originally created it. It makes sense. Removing it now is a good first step to add it back later, but differently. You know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Looks
if
good.
anybody wants to give feedback on this, I've done some testing. As far as I'm concerned, it works for me. I don't think I marked it that because I feel a little bit like Herb and I are the only two who've looked at this. And I thought it might be better if we had at least one other person take a look at this before we.
Yeah, I'm
sort of
interested in this from a UX perspective, but as you said, I'm one of the people that do not use the book feature a lot. I'll have to have some time to have a look, but yeah, I'll try to provide some feedback. Interesting problems to solve.
Sure.
All right. And that's kind of it for 122. Tim was really dominating the forum post this week. I also added one issue that is super helpful for new users. It's issue 5605. And this issue was opened by a new contributor, GitRessa. And GitRessa had filed a pull request, but no issue, and hadn't received any feedback on it until they ran across the documentation page saying, always file an issue before you file a pull request. And I was like, oh, I should do that. And then started getting feedback. And this is the thing, is that when we file a pull request right now, it's just like the blank page, you know, that just like asks you for a description. And we have the ability on GitHub to set a template that just like gives the user some, first of all, we could format it so that it cross links, you know, fixes whatever, because we encourage people to use that keyword to link together the pull request and the issue. But we also could take the opportunity to just say, make sure you file an issue before you file a pull request in the description. So it's a really good solution, or really good suggestion. I saw, Robert, you'd already jumped in there. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think that we should definitely get that implemented as soon as possible. It's done really simply. We need to put a markdown file in our repository. I think originally we were a little bit hesitant about putting GitHub specific files into our main code repository. But now this is not so much an issue because we have the packager cleaning up like GitHub specific files before the main zip file is generated. So I believe that we can put the pull request template inside of the .github directory, and that will automatically get trimmed out by the packager.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a great idea. We should just work on that as soon as possible. And that's it. Big shout out again to the 121.5 issues that have been going in. There are 9 RTBC issues still, but we've merged 15 some issues into the next bug fix release, which is exciting. Robert, thank you in particular for digging up these issues that have been needs review for a very long time and moving them into final review and getting them into RDBC. It's been very helpful. Does anyone have any other issues they'd like to bring up or discuss for Feature Freeze, or just in general?
I'm hoping to test one that Laren's worked on, which is 3245. Only request database updates if needed. So I'm trying to test that to see if that can go in. There is also a related one, but which I would like to do, but I don't think it's feasible. Which is connected to the maintenance mode, which is 4320. But I think I need some more. I would need some more guidance before I could do that. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm hoping to test Laren's 3245, so that can be a possible candidate to go in.
Great. Yeah, this is also a UX improvement, just like hiding or showing a link based on whether or not there's an action to be done. So it's a great idea. Not something that needs to be done in the next couple of days. So you've got a couple of weeks to get it sorted out. I think that's great.
Can I just, another topic would be, Martin, maybe you've been following it. A lot of progress, this is not core, but that organic groups, which I also keep raising. It seems like a big milestone was passed this week. Laren just merged a whole bunch of code. RG Piano has been putting in a ton of work on that. Does anybody have an update? Like, is it getting close to usable, or do we not know? Anybody that's here?
I've not been close enough to know.
Okay. Anyways, enough to just recognize that huge amount of work has been going into organic groups. And again, Laren did a big merge and posted a note, but he didn't really give a status update. Like where does that get us in terms of having a stable module? That's it.
Yeah, I don't know. Have any more information either, but that's great to hear that is pushing forward. I mean, there's multiple reasons why we want organic groups to be updated, but one of them is that it's a dependency for updating the translate site into Backdrop, which is still sticking around as the one Drupal 7 site in our site-wide infrastructure that we use, or in our project-wide infrastructure. And that would be great to get upgraded into Backdrop. Yeah, I think if we can get that into Backdrop also, it opens up the possibility of further development, because I think that we have a number of things that we'd like to improve about the localized website, including like automatically pulling in projects and string extraction and all of these things. And I think that we're really down on like putting a lot of effort into the Drupal 7 site when, you know, we don't want to be lugging that around forever. Yeah, it's great. All right. Any other last items? I saw one that Indigo Zella, I think, mentioned in Zulip, and let me see if I can actually find it. I can't. Oh, here. Yeah, I can't find it actually, but she's hoping to get the file access callbacks sorted out, that the access on file entities is different than it is for all other entities. And I don't have the issue number to pull it up, but yeah, that's another issue that it would be nice if we can actually make a little bit of progress on it. But I don't think that there's, like, it has a pull request, it needs review. It's just been stuck there. Not super high priority for us because it doesn't have any end user benefit, but it would help, I think, probably with some of the reference functionality in the future. Referencing files isn't a real big priority for us though, because we can already reference files using the specific like file fields, which aren't really reference fields, but it is possible in the future we might want to be able to use entity references to point at file entities rather than the files themselves.
I have a couple of questions. One of them is just to confirm that the feature freeze is on Monday the 2nd and not Sunday, just to give us enough time for the weekend for the feature freeze.
Yeah,
said.
I mentioned at the beginning that it's probably going to be May 1st.
But that falls on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So we'll do the release there, because what we usually do is we give people enough time over the weekend, minding time zones as well. So So maybe consider moving it to the second instead of, but up to you guys. It's yeah.
Yeah, I think what happens often is that it falls on a holiday weekend, and so you end up getting Monday off, but that's not, but that's because Monday is sometimes a holiday.
Right.
And in this case, it's not a
Right.
holiday. So that's it. That's the only reason why sometimes Monday is not actually or like code freeze isn't actually the day code freeze happens, is because we push it to the end of the weekend, including any holidays. But there's no
Right.
holidays this week.
Right, cool. So that was question number one. And then is any sprint going to happen between today and when we do the actual feature freeze?
I'm open to planning something Saturday or Sunday. You know, to
My
sort of-
Zulip notifications is a mess now. I have like 700 plus messages, but I'll try to keep up. And so if anyone organizes things, just drop a message and I might consider just making time to join. I'll see. Have some social obligations, but yeah, I might just stick around during nights or something.
Well, let me just ask if anybody wants to sort of sprint on Saturday or Sunday and has a preference to tell me.
Right.
Otherwise, tell you what. Otherwise, I'll just plan on Saturday because that leaves Sunday open as well if we want to.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I'm feeling pretty good about what we've done so far, and like I put so much work into it. I don't feel a huge need to Nate. Kudos to you and thanks for getting so much work done in advance, not waiting for all of this stuff till the weekend. So we have some closure on a bunch of this, and we don't have to. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's not me. I mean, I was doing the merging, but all of the other stuff has already been ready by the time I look at them, and I want to express it again. Like have been getting so much better about when something is marked RTBC, it really is ready. And like I think when we started the project, like maybe we're just like we're maturing and people are familiar with the processes, and we're getting a lot of the same contributors making multiple contributions. But it used to be that like 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4 the times I was reviewing something that was RTBC, it needed to be bumped back down. And I'd say it's inverted now, where 3 out of 4 times it's like ready to go. And that is just so great. And it puts a new kind of bottleneck, because now it's like there's these things that are sitting there waiting to be committed, that are really truly ready. Which implies to me that we may need to make more core contributors, because if that's a bottleneck, then we should try to lessen that. We also like have a number of core contributors, and I'm not sure if it's the way that my pattern of like being the final reviewer is like discouraging the merging of pull requests, but maybe we also need to go back and empower the core contributors that we have a little bit more.
Well, I feel like earlier in the release cycle, our other core contributors were actually merging a bunch of stuff, and then as it's gotten closer to the deadline, it's fallen more on you. And I don't know if that's just been coincidental or if there's something about that.
Yeah.
But
BW Panda did merge the pull request for the version update though, which I really appreciated, because that was my pull request. So I do really appreciate that.
I know that we only have 2 minutes. I just want to bring it up maybe for the next dev meeting, and just so that it's on everybody's radar, at the back of their heads, just headlines, automatic updates, and CK Editor 5. There's some activity going on, and some call for help on the Drupal side of things, and I don't know where we're at with that. Like, are we gonna hook up into the job already, the all the work that has already been done on Drupal end? But yeah, it seems like these two are kind of huge chunks of work that at some point we need to get to.
Yeah.
And the reason why I mentioned, why I'm mentioning these two, Nate, right? Because they kind of fall into your.
That automatic updates is something I had been advocating for, and CK Editor is
you're the
wheelhouse
expert
of mine.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, automatic updates, it continues to be stuck on just like finding the time. Basically, there's very obvious routes forward. for us to make progress there, better pre-flight checks, taking a look at the automatic updates from Drupal 7, porting
Right.
over functionality from it, finding like automatically running update.php. All of these things have technical solutions and can be completed. It's just a matter of finding the time and
Exactly.
prioritizing.
Yeah.
CK Editor is really interesting, though. I did take a look at, I do have a sandbox that I've started of the CK Editor 5 module, but it's not anywhere near functional at this point. But the Drupal module, yeah, I'm still almost at like the evaluation point, honestly, because like the Drupal module is very, very complicated, and I kind of just wonder like how much complexity we really need to implement there. The good news is that we implemented CK Editor differently than Drupal 8 did in the first place, which makes the number of differences smaller than the Drupal 8 approach. So that's great. Like the configuration for like dragging and dropping the toolbar, for example. Our approach in Backdrop in the current CK Editor module could easily be adapted to CK Editor 5. And that wasn't the case in the Drupal 8 module. It was more tied into the JavaScript library.
Right.
But yeah, there's still really big questions about how CK Editor should work, and we will need to rewrite the main plugins for doing things like links and file modals and anything that adds a button we'll need to recreate.
Right.
And yeah, there's a lot of work to be done there.
Just, as I said, bullet points just remind us that, so long as it's on our radars, because at some point CK Editor 4 will become end of life. So I don't want us to get to that point where we're rushing things then and creates a really big problem. Yeah,
for sure.
All right, cool.
Okay. All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Let's wrap up for today. Again, great work to all of our contributors. We've really made some really excellent progress in the past couple of weeks. This will be it. I don't know, Greg, if we get that required messages one in, it would be an exceptional feat that we would have actually completed everything we put in the milestone, which I don't think has ever happened before.
Cool.
Yeah, it's still out. Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to add on the extra pressure. Again, opinions only is really what we need.
Cool.
But yeah, it's been a really great